Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Christmas is around the corner, and I hope all your shopping's done and everybody's well. Just a very compact and bijou group this afternoon, or good evening, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Louis, and for the first time, Neil Ludwig, who tells me that I'm not a pilot. As a drone operator, I'm not a pilot. What on earth do you mean by that? Of course, I'm a pilot. I'm a highly decorated, skilled, and qualified person. What on earth do you mean by that, Neil?
Well, it's just that the type of training that we had to go through as pilots. My background is that I'm a helicopter pilot and also a drone operator. So the knowledge we had to learn as a helicopter pilot was is completely different than as a drone operator. So it's almost like you're just riding the sticks and doing flying a remote, not really doing any piloting.
Well,
Yeah,
what?
but can I ask you something? Not too long ago, to get a driver's license, you would need to know how to do some mechanics, change a spark plug, and do all that. These days, you don't need to do that. So things have evolved since the days that a simple driver's license would require you to know mechanics. The same thing with drones and real people carrying aircraft. And let's assume that the drone is not carrying people, so the requirements should be very different, right?
Right? Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The things evolving and things do change, and you still need to know basic aeronautics. You still need to know weather. You still need to know certain things in order to fly. Just because you're not in the aircraft doesn't mean that you're controlling it. You're essentially not controlling it. It's up to Mother Nature when you're in the air.
It's not Mother
You
Nature.
know, yeah,
It's the gods of the silicon. It's computers that are running the show. So
right.
why should a pilot be entitled to know how to look a cloud and say it's a cumulonimbus, or analyze the wind and know what the dew point is? Does the computer doesn't have to know that, because the computer is the one that is flying?
Right. They're taking in different parameters of obviously the wind and not so much the weather or anything, but they're more the wind to trying to keep stable. Um, you're more operating the sensors. It should be called sensor operator or sensor pilot, I guess. Not so much a drone operator or drone pilot. Like you said, things are evolving and things are changing, and it will get better. It definitely some military trained personnel definitely have could be considered pilots because they flew larger aircraft and they had to land them just like real airplanes on a runway. When you buy a DJI just out of the box, you're not doing anything other than a VTOL taking off, taking straight up and going flying. It doesn't really require any skill.
Yeah, and so the requirements to operate a DJI should be the same to operate a Chinook.
No, definitely not. It definitely should be. It should be a lot harder. You need to know some basics. Weather, airspace, basic regulations, so that way you don't get in trouble and do something that hurts somebody. It's just a matter of time before
But isn't that
something really bad goes
is
wrong.
that the role of the regulations that have been getting to be put in place all over the world, that the flight controllers themselves, the computers that are running the show, should do that, not the human slash weak link on the loop. It's the computer that has to do that. So
Well,
do we certify the computer?
well, there's always going to be that artificial intelligence side of it that people aren't going to like or not going to be comfortable with. It's going to take some time for people to accept this, and it'll change. Everything will change, and it'll get better, and certifications will get harder and harsher, and uh, become better for sure.
Now,
So
are we not? Is the premise of your piece that you wrote for Embry Riddle? What are you? Why are you at Embry Riddle? What are you studying there? Why did you end up writing this piece, which is a great piece? I did enjoy it.
I started off as a safety major to make myself a better pilot, to learn what things have gone wrong in the past and hopefully be able to fix them myself if anything came up. I had to change gears to just a basic aeronautics one. This was part of my capstone, my research project to get my degree, and I chose this topic because it was part of starting up and continuing the UAS flight program at the local college here. Um, and I had a lot of fun in teaching other students and everything. And I could see the trend of where people that didn't know what they were doing or had no clue, no training or how to operate anything, were just going out and doing whatever they wanted without knowing and what they were doing.
So is it not? Is it not?
Kind of like
sorry, Louis, is it not though that you're worrying? Perhaps, and to be the devil's advocate, you're worrying about the word pilot being used and people saying they're a pilot. And I have to agree with you. I don't consider when I'm flying a drone that I'm piloting it, and nor does it equate to some other skills. Somebody in the comments has already said that balloon pilots need not apply. Well, I also don't call myself a balloon pilot when I'm driving one of those. I call myself an aeronaut because I'm up myself. It sounds a bit too much, doesn't it? But that's the real word in the traditional world. It's a nice word for it, and I don't consider myself, So are you worried about? It's interesting that you said you're doing a safety major. I've also done a safety course, and only a safety course. I haven't studied it properly, and I would like to study it properly because it really opened my eyes. I had to do crew resource management, and it was a chore. I was sent on the course, and I thought, oh no, I'll go because I've got to go. But when I went and when I started listening, it opened my eyes up, and I thought, oh, but of course. And it was all full of obvious. What afterwards? It's like, oh yeah, that's obvious. It's not so obvious when you're doing it, and it's very important. And it is a missing. It's a missing link in our world. Is a correct attitude towards safety, which starts actually the night before the flight or something, if you like. So is that really what your paper's trying to say? You're trying to knock us into a safety way of doing things?
Well, it's not so much the safety aspect. It is, but it's not. It's these things are geared as toys. They're projected as toys. They're
imported as toys.
You know what I'm saying? Right. That everybody thinks they're toys. They're not toys. They're tools. These are considered aircraft by the FAA here in America, and they need to be treated as such, not just toys that people can go fly around and hurt somebody. They need to be used as tools and used properly to expand our environment and get better research, better analysis on science and what is going on with everything.
So we should ask to the manufacturers of these machines to also provide us maintenance plans, maintenance schedules, certified maintenance places to be. That can lead us to a very big black hole of regulations that will take everyone out of the space. So
right.
Where's the line?
Right. It would behoove the manufacturers to do something like that because they would only make more money saying you have to change the motor out every 50 hours or something. But it also comes into, we have the Commerce Act here where government cannot get involved with companies. So it's definitely it's in a lot of companies' best interest to protect themselves and to protect the consumer. Eventually something bad will happen and they're going to get sued and possibly go under. I mean, it's things can happen that are completely unexpected. And like I said, these are tools. They need to be treated as such.
And if you go down that path, then the Consumer Act, for instance, in Europe, we have the warranty, general warranty is 2 years for goods sold to consumers. But industrial equipments have longer and more expensive lifetimes. So instead of paying 1,000 euros / dollars for a DJI drone, whatever the model that costs 1,000, we will start to pay 2,000, 3,000 for the same model just because of the the extended warranty that has to be mandatory, and all the maintenance regulations that will be in place. It's
Right,
hard
right there.
to go to, okay, let's treat this as real aircraft. Yeah, they operate on a space which is, according to the best laws all around the world, is reserved to not to commercial airlines. So they are operating at below 400 feet, and let's assume that everybody operates responsibly and below the 400 feet. We know that's not the case, but then we have also the case,
Right.
like Bruce has shown on his videos of planes doing touch and goes where they shouldn't, but that's a different issue. So where do we stop, and should we start even to do the same requirements to drone operators versus to the pilots? Do we put them on the same stand? I believe it's a thin line. I'm not saying I don't agree with you, okay, but where is the line?
Right. You're exactly right, and I don't know where that line is, and I hope that before something bad does happen, that we can get to that line and figure out where things go. I mean, you have to be a commercial pilot in order to get paid to work with these things, you know. And there's people, like you said, there's even real pilots, you know, man pilots that are doing things inappropriately. So it's just the way things are, and we'll get to that line eventually.
Are we not at a point though where I personally, I think this Christmas is, or I think last Christmas was peak drone. I think we're going to see, and a lot of people shouted at me last year for saying that. A lot of the forecasters, and so I stand to be completely wrong still, but I think we'll find that sales this year, yeah, they'll be good. Sales of DJI gear will be good, but they won't be significantly up on last year.
I believe you're wrong, Gary.
Well, there we are. Louis believes I'm wrong.
No, because the large, for instance, the largest consumer defense group in Portugal has published as recently as 2 weeks ago an article saying what is the best drone for this Christmas. So
right. The costs
there.
are coming down. So social media is making it more acceptable to use these things, and that's part of the problem too. But it'll only get more. They'll sell more. DJI is already coming into where they're starting to block certain areas where you can go. So things are starting to evolve, and it's getting there.
Because even this afternoon about the usage of drones, and you remember, Gary, that I spoke to you about the rush in new legislation in Portugal because of some highly publicized drone incidents in Portugal. And I was this afternoon in a military ceremony at the biggest plaza in Lisbon, and there were 2 drones flying above the crowd, an Inspire 2 and a Phantom, and 2 Lynx full-size helicopters also flying, and they were all flying at the same time on that plaza. No problems whatsoever.
Interesting. In the comments, Raven FPV is saying we sold a lot less DJI products than last year. People ask a lot more for toy class quads for under 14s. Yeah, I do think we're going to see a leveling of the hype and of the market. It definitely is when the headlines aren't coming out as quickly, as fast. If there's an issue, although I did see one today about a Mavic near Heathrow or something like that. So it's leveling out a little bit, and I think you're going to have the entry level drones for youngsters that then hopefully will learn some of the rules on the way as they go along, and then they will buy into the DJI thing, but will come with a more steady mindset to it. I truly hope. Maybe I'm being a bit too utopian. I truly hope that's what's happening, and because I think the shall we say the boy racers, I don't know think what a Portuguese or an American equivalent of a boy racer is, but you know, the youth that's got the car with all the twirly bits and whizzes round, donuts everywhere and rushes around town, and that's what you do when when you're 18 or whatever, and then you soon grow out of that. I think I think that's gone away. I'm not putting it very well, but I think that those sort of users are going now. I think we are growing up a little bit.
Yeah, and what from that Consumer Defense Association that published that article, they also have for drones below 250 grams that don't require the insurance. And strangely, a few drones that I knew, most of them, let's say, less than capable drones, because they're going for the very low spec drones, and which is bad for the drones because those low spec drones will very rapidly become just something else that starts to gather dust on a shelf, because you only have fun with the big drones that have some smarts inside.
Right. And you see a lot more of the smaller drones coming out, the handheld small size, and then I think right now like the novice, hobbyists are going to be buying the DJIs and stuff like that, and then you got the more expensive stuff that's 10,000 or more that the commercial operators are going to be using.
Yeah, but that's a given, because I also act as a commercial operator. And I work for a company that does commercial work with larger drones, and we have completely different procedures to operate those drones. But mostly because we are obliged to do that because of our customers. So we have to obey to what our customers ask us to do. And but on the leisure side, toy area, I'm afraid of the stupid drones that are being sold, the drones without proper capabilities. And I would say that, for instance, for me, the lowest spec acceptable drone today is the Spark from DJI.
But that's a bit elitist, isn't it? That's a bit rich man's pockets. For there's no way when I was I don't know what I could have afforded relatively when I was 14 or 13 or something. That would be, to me, if I was 13, that would be a millionaire's drone.
Yeah, it is a millionaire's drone. It is a millionaire's drone, but it ticks all the boxes that the kids want. As nice camera.
Yeah, for sure. But you
can control it on your mobile phone, so you can be on Facebook and control the drone.
I see.
And it's already good to operate with the thumbs. So,
but I was going to hold. I always do this wrong with the camera. I can't even remember what these little things are called. I think these are fantastic.
Micro.
These are amazing. Why do you need such a high spec thing?
Micro.
Yeah. And does it do return home? Does it do FPV? Does it fly beyond 20 meters?
No,
right.
No,
those
and that's the point. That's what then, to my mind, that's what regulates them. So you're saying go out and suddenly do a lot of paper rounds so you can buy a Spark. But then if you've got the Spark, that gives you the range and all the stuff to put your neck in the noose of trouble. If you go out and buy these cheap little things that do fly and are very, very good fun to fly, you're automatically avoiding some of the distance-based trouble because they can't do it.
Yeah, and you know what's the destination of those drones? Where after the week after Christmas, they get stuffed in a box somewhere, and you just killed someone that could enjoy the drone hobby, be it as with a drone or a plane or RC plane. You just kill someone that said, I tried that. Is no good. So
I think
it's completely different, right?
Well, Neil, did you start off your life as a helicopter pilot before being a helicopter pilot? Were you a model flyer, or did you go straight into being a helicopter pilot?
Right. I never had any background flying RC or anything like that. I was in the military. I was a fueler. So I was refueling aircraft, fixed wing and helicopters, and I decided that I wanted to fly them. So I got out and went to go to flight school, and that's where I went. And luckily, I had a friend in the area that said, "Hey, check out this school," and that's where I went from there.
And then, so why did you get a drone ticket as well then?
Because that was the new up and coming thing, and it's going to be the future of aviation. It's only the beginning right now, and it's going to get better. Eventually, we won't see any manned aircraft. Just like right
Wow.
now, Tesla is trying to push the no manned cars. It's or driver cars at least.
Mm,
So
mm,
it'll
mm,
be there in the future.
mm. No, it absolutely will. Optionally piloted vehicles are definitely the way forward in a lot of markets. I think in the comments, the Chinese thing was mentioned earlier, the AT300, which is actually a converted aircraft from Bruce's neck of the woods, manned aircraft converted into a cargo carrier, and that's a fantastic OPV. I see that Cessna have just brought out an upgrade to, well, not an upgrade, but a new aircraft, but it's to fall in line with the Caravan, but it's the 408, I think it is. I could be wrong there, standard correction. And I can't remember what they're calling it, but it's a twin-engined thing, and FedEx are the lead customer for that to first
But
flights.
Gary, help me out something.
Go on.
You as a certified pilot has to know this. Isn't the A380 or the 777 a drone?
Well, yes. Well,
Yes.
the new aviation SOAR is, it's gone. Well, we've gone from two pilots and engineer, haven't we, to no engineer, and then the next thing we go to is a single pilot and a dog, and the dog's there just to keep the pilot from touching
Right.
anything, and yeah,
They're
very much.
glorified babysitters.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
because they just there, like we have our drone operators operating the drones to our customers. They're there to look that the drone is doing what he's supposed to do. So those planes take off, right? Take off by themselves, land by themselves, and can fly by themselves, and they have anti-collision. What else is missing?
Well, they don't have a lot of anti-collision, but I can actually rewind a little bit to Neil's comment about military operators having a lot of stick time with large systems, and it's a fact that the Army has less accidents than the Air Force, because the Air Force guys do like to do the hand landing, where the Army guys just go hit the button for land, and that's why they have a lot less landing incidents than the USAF guys, because they're not hand flying them. They're letting the computer do its job. So yeah, no,
right.
yes,
Well, and then you have the safety aspect that comes into that too, where a lot of these pilots then are, when they do get into trouble, they have no clue what to do because they're relying on the computer, they're relying on the gauges, they're not flying the aircraft, and that's where the problem comes in.
And
well,
what can you do?
is that your piloting definition? Then is that where your worry is, and that's where your thesis is? That why your thesis wound up, because you're worried about the piloting?
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects. I mean, I could have wrote several different papers. I could write a book on, everything involved with this. I mean, there was a topic brought up of doing manned accidents, compared to the drone accidents, see which was worse, or how bad manned pilots were compared to drone pilots. So there's just a different aspect. My basic point of the paper was to get the knowledge out there that people need more knowledge. They need to be able to fly the aircraft and do the things that need to be done.
Can I counterpoint you with something, Neil? What about flight hours?
Yeah.
If you account for all the
Uh,
flight hours of all the drones in the world, or what is now considered drones, they do several times what manned aviation is doing, right?
Do you reckon? Do
Right.
you think that's already? Do you already think that unmanned aviation exceeds manned aviation's hours? Then, Louis?
I believe so. I believe so.
I believe so. There's a lot that we don't even know that the governments are doing. So I would imagine that he's probably correct on that.
So
There's probably right now as we talk 50 A380s and 747s flying around the globe that are going to land because they're doing long haul flights. Are going to land for 3 or 4 hours a time, and they're going to be doing, each of those aircraft are going to be doing at least 15 hours a day. Just those aircraft alone are racking up hours at a prodigious rate. And then you've got all the other stuff. Neil flying his helicopter, me flying my balloon, some other people flying gliders. I think we can't be far away from that point, but I don't think we've tipped over that point yet. I don't know. Maybe there's there's probably some real data out there somewhere. I need to go off and have a look.
inside that A380 or 777, how many drones are in the luggage of the passengers?
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah. Did you see that Casey Neistat tried to fly his Spark in 777?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that didn't go so well.
And,
No, yeah.
and veering out a bit of the regulation, because poor Neil, I see, is already covered with band-aids because we are spanking him on this pilot document. And
Yes, we are.
did you see that Casey Neistat video with that foldable snap?
I did see it, and it was a good idea a couple of years ago when I think was it a crowdfunder? I don't know. Was it whatever it
I
was?
can't remember.
Yeah, I did, and meh. And then similarly, did you see that that we have an opportunity to invest in Lily Drone? Should we wish to?
Lily drone, squared Lily drone, or times two. Is it times two? Do we pay twice and get one?
I don't know.
That's called an investment.
Well done to the company for taking on such a toxic brand name. I'm
not sure if it's that toxic. Okay, the name is cute and it's toxic for all the drone aware community.
True. Yeah, that's true. It's just
but at their price point, did they do any kind of market research, or are they using the market research done 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's probably very likely. And you know, I sort of have to agree with your definition of the Spark being the minimum specification. You struggle to beat a Spark now if you're a startup. You know, if you're coming to market, you now in coming into 2018, you better be better than or equal to the Spark. And next year, and I don't own one, I don't have shares in DJI, and people who watch this a lot realize that we're not always super friendly to them. But I would lay good money, that next year it's going to lose a little bit of weight and come in at under 250 grams. I think, isn't it 260 at the moment? Something like 270?
Now, with batteries, 310.
Oh, it's a fatty. Okay, so it's got to lose quite a bit of weight then.
Okay, they can get him a battery that flies 5 minutes and they're below radar, and then you sell the optional battery. So it's a win-win for them.
That's a good idea. If you were Amazon, you'd put a patent on that.
Oh yeah.
You better get right into some sort of patent attorney for your latest Amazon crazy patent.
Which is the patent flavor of the day from Amazon?
I don't know. I can't. There was one recently, wasn't there? And I can't even remember what it was. It was another absolutely crazy vacuous thing, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know. But we also, let's just veer back to Neil before we disappear off into other things. And you must jump in, Neil, if you've got some opinion. That's how we work around here. If you've got some opinions, of just jump in. But so how was your report received within your flying community and one set of people, and then within your droney friends? How was the two sides of that?
Well, definitely, like, so far it's been that the pilots are in complete agreement with what I'm saying. They definitely think the knowledge base for the drone operators is not the same. Like, and the drone side is they're up in arms, and they're a little ticked off about it, like thinking I'm just ranting or some special kid that went to Embry-Riddle because my mommy and daddy were rich. Well, I mean, I had to pay out of my own pocket to go there, so it's definitely not uh, something that I take lightly. You know, it's a very prestigious school, and that's the way it's treated. It's definitely the things need to change, and people need to get more knowledgeable of what they're doing, not just go out there and wiggle some stick around.
I suppose you could bolt on all sorts of arguments around that, or ways of getting to that point, but it'll always be in any industry. It doesn't matter what you're doing. More education is always more education, and you're better off for it, whatever you're doing in life.
Right.
What's the feeling in Embry-Riddle about well, what is the MF Boom? So that new Embry-Riddle mock course you signed up for to see about it. I did the last one they did, and it was very good. The last mock they did, I was impressed, and I thought it was pretty proactive as well. That they're getting it out there, and I did give them a little bit of feedback on the last one. But what was I going to say? I was going to say, what's the feeling at Embry-Riddle amongst, because you have a raft of youngsters coming in that haven't served in the military, come out of college, and they want to be an airline pilot or a cargo pilot. Are they worried about the oncoming? Have they got blinkers? Are they not looking towards the drone world, or are they ready to embrace it because they're young, upwardly mobile folks?
Right. I think a lot of it is that they're accepting of it. You know, they want to be pilots, and that's, you know, they either want to be pilots or drone pilots. I mean, that's what it is. So it's definitely a huge thing there. More than half of the presentations that I did were on drones. So there's new information, new ideas, new stuff all around coming out of Embry-Riddle that is going to change the industry. It's going to change the market.
Well, you just opened up that innovation center. I think we put an article about that this morning, I think it was, or yesterday. So that looked very interesting. And in the comments above and beyond, saying Jonathan will be involved a little bit with that mock. I think Jonathan Rupert, who's sometimes on with us, and he is a professor of something or other there, probably professor of toilet cleaning. He's actually just put out a great article. I should find a link for it, of all the court cases ongoing and ones that have been resolved coming up. So it's very well worth dropping off to Jonathan's page and having a look at that. An awful lot of work gone into that, and very telling, some of the things that are being prosecuted and some of the things that have dodged prosecution as well. That is, it's very hard to prosecute us, really. But that's another.
Well, right. It's so new. There's such a gray area right now that the rules and regulations are fairly vague, and that's part of the problem. We need to change it. Like the FAA, all they did was basically take the RC rules that they wanted you to follow, and that they weren't even enforced, and put it into Part 107. Here's your new regulations. Well, they didn't really do very much other than to change it. So it'll be evolving, and as people keep doing things and keep evolving, creating new aircraft and things like that, the rules and regulations will change and update with them.
I wonder, Louis. Sorry, Louis, after you.
Neil, any feedback on I read on the news just before the podcast that the Trump administration reverted that regulation for drone identification or user identification in the US. Any comment on that?
Yeah, I think I mean, I registered mine when it was, you had to register them. I think it's a thing that should be done if you're going to operate commercially. I don't think you should have to do it if you're a hobbyist or just going to go fly around your neighborhood. It's definitely, I think it should keep it that way, that commercial has to be registered, just like if you were a real aircraft.
It's interesting. I can't remember the number, but haven't the FAA lost like 3,000 aircraft off the register? Or maybe it's a bigger number than that. I know there's a huge number of manned aircraft that they no longer have any idea of what's happened to them. Shouldn't they get that house in order first?
Well, yeah, for sure. Definitely. The problem there is that they don't have enough staffing. They are completely understaffed, underfunded, and they're not able to enforce a lot of things, which is very unfortunate because there's a lot of traffic in the air, compared to cars. There's just as many things happening out there with aircraft than cars.
Yeah, it's a thorny subject, all of this, and I hope it doesn't end up being. And I'll keep people accusing me of conspiracy theories, but I really do worry about the pay-to-play element coming in. That first 500 feet of airspace has effectively been pointless to anyone really in the past. What good can it be? How can we monetize it? But now with the potential of delivery drones, and of course all the surveys that are coming out, you can monetize it, pay to play. And if they do monetize it, I hope the manned aviation has to pay the same price to be in that airspace as well. Controversial. Right. The president signed the 2018 defense bill today, so drone reg for hobbyists is back. Yes, that's right.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, they're saying in the comments. Yes, we're living in a weird time, and of course, I mean, how many years? That's what I was going to ask you, Louis. Sort of, do we think there's a number of years before regulators and newspapers never realize it's actually better to remove the man from the loop and let the computer get on with it? It's actually safer.
Oh my God, that's a no. It's the same as autonomous cars. You know what the biggest problem of autonomous cars is that there are people on the road driving. It's the same with drones. If we remove the human element that inserts uncertainty on the equation, that's the problem. If you get an entire drone robot operated airspace, you can get things much easier, but nobody is, as with cars, nobody wants to go to a fully autonomous world. It's a problem. The technology has the catch up.
Right.
The technology has the catch up.
You're right. The infrastructure that has to be put in to be completely autonomous is going to be extraneous, and it'll get there eventually. It's just going to take some time.
Oh dear, I'm just reading in the comments. There's a mention that New Zealand's trial a UTM. I see it's AirMap. Oh dear. Oh dear. Other UTMs are available, and funny you should mention the pay-to-play people. They are the people trying to make it pay-to-play throughout the world. So if that's the UTM mentioned in your country, bad luck.
Is DJI on board with the AirMap? I'm not sure.
I think they use AirMap in some countries, don't they? I think they use some, not everywhere, but in some places. Bruce would have had something to say about that.
Bruce will be in flames.
Yeah, above and beyond, that's AirMap trying to muscle in. It is. Yeah. It is. Their footprints all over India as well, all over that. They're terrible regulations that are being proposed for India. In fact, we're coming up to the beginning of 2018, aren't we? So there'll be some movement of that shortly as well.
I'm anxiously expecting the final regulations for drones in Portugal. I'm not very confident that. I know the guys from the regulator. I know the guys that are in charge of doing it, but I also know that they're being pushed around a bit by governments. So I'm not very confident that we'll have a reasonable new law in Portugal to fly drones.
It's a pity, Richard, from Altitude Angel. Another thing we're always pretty much accused of, particularly on this hangout, is bias towards certain companies. And the reason I end up being biased towards certain companies is not because they're paying me money, but it's because I trust what they tell me, and they seem like nice people, so they get more airtime. So if you read SES News, if you don't see a lot of certain companies, that's because I can't stand them. So I never publish their press. I never publish their press releases. But Richard Parker would have told us that and it has to be for all these UTMs that it is an open standard, so that not one provider can become king, because we're all stuffed if that happens. And And make no mistake, they'll move into your world, Neil. They'll move into unmanned traffic management. They'll drop the U and it'll just become back to air traffic management, and everybody will get in with the apps and the pay to play and all this sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming for everybody. They're coming for everyone. Where's my tinfoil hat? I need that again. But
isn't there on the manned aviation that you already pay to play? You pay taxes to take off on certain airports. You pay taxes to land on certain airports. So it's a kind of pay to play.
It is, yeah. And if you went airways, then yes, you'd also get some navigation charges as well. But then you would be overseen. So I suppose it's a fair comparison. But if you're flying from a farm strip A to farm strip B, then or in a helicopter like Neil, if you're just going from someone's backyard to someone else's backyard, none of that would come into play there.
If right, it's just a form of control.
If he's allowed to take off or land from that backyard, because he might not be allowed to do it.
No, but Neil's friends are all extremely wealthy and have an enormous backyard, so it's no problem at all.
Yeah, some people might. I definitely don't yet.
No, UTM is a kind of it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It is quite a good idea. It would be nice for everybody to know where everybody else is, and it will perhaps increase safety. It would be very interesting to hear some lecturers and professors in
law,
in
air law.
No, not in air law, in CRM, in aviation safety. I'd like to hear what their actual, because they'll probably have thought it through a little bit, and they might say, well, actually, they might like to see different ways of improving aviation safety as a whole. They might see things differently to the way Silicon Valley developers see things, and they just dream up solutions to problems that don't really exist. Again, I'm ranting a little bit, but I have a feeling that's what's going on. There are developers dreaming up stuff, saying, "Oh yeah, now we've got a couple of pilots on board, so it must be true, and this will work for everybody." And I'm not sure that they're creating the correct solutions. And I think NASA's solution is being gently pushed to one side, and that would be an open and fair system. Again, I've ranted. Louis, can you rant a little bit, please? I've ranted too long.
You I like you when you rant, Gary. Now let's see. I'm not.
Well, no, I think there should be a traffic management system that you can do goods and supplies down one route and have passengers down another. Definitely help create more continuity and make it safer for sure.
But at what height? Below the 400 feet?
I think
it's all going to depend on what it is. I mean, if you're doing inspecting a roof, then yeah, obviously you're going to be under 400 feet. But if you're transporting goods and people, you definitely, the height there is where you can separate people or separate aircraft and make it safer.
For instance, on Autopilot, we make a case of telling everyone that we don't endorse /support /approve the usage of the flight controllers for when people are involved. And who's going to be the first guy that develops a flight computer that can carry people on a drone? That's a big question.
Well, sorry, here, people. That fantastic chap was he in Norway or Sweden or Finland, who got a whole load of KK controllers and a whole load of RC controllers and made his own.
My God! And that bunch of guillotines spinning around.
Yeah. But it was an amazing, the one I mean, where it all sort of rises up because it's all held on the strings. But it's already been done. So people are already trusting, $20 flight controllers or their lives to $20 flight controllers. Won't our autopilots that we're all using become prohibitively expensive if suddenly they have to face certification for manned use?
Yeah, the 0178, for instance, it comes to mind, which is something that, for instance, at Autopilot we've discussed that, and it's too expensive. So if someone wants to do the 0178B or whatever it's the current incarnation is, it's doable. But it's a complete rewrite of the code, so it's many years of code experience and algorithms that have to be revised to comply with those rules. I don't see any flight controller software complying with the rules for manned aviation. It's a different ballgame.
Right.
It's very interesting. Well, that's why I suppose having the meatware in the loops, it's a little bit easier, isn't it? You get rid of a whole load of regulatory problems by doing that. We're going to face an interesting few years, but we're not far away from people believing that the computer controlled stuff is easier.
It might be cheaper to pick up the computers of the A380 or the 777 and strap it on a drone. It has to be a large enough drone to carry all those computers.
I suppose all we have to do is be able to just run the software on, and then the hardware will have to get approved as well. But yes, just make it run on the. God, there you go. There's a port for you. Have you got anything coming up over the Christmas holidays, Louis? You could maybe do that, you know?
Yeah, perhaps we'll sort out the issue that you had with Seattle on Arduplane. Let's see if it goes okay. But for instance, on Ardupilot, there's a good news from partners that support Ardupilot, like X, that is producing the PixHawk 2.1, the Cube, and JDrones, run by Gianni Irvinen. I've done an agreement so that X will be producing the hardware, and JDrones is establishing a worldwide distribution network. So we in the hope that we'll see a better distribution and better development of the Ardupilot and the PixHawk/Cube family all around the world. Yanni told me this. It's not a secret. He told me this yesterday, and I think it's a good development for the open source world.
He's just picked up some achievement or award from China, hasn't he, as well?
He's now. Yanni is our ambassador in China. Although he lives in Thailand, so he's quite near there. It's nearer than any one of us, so it's easy for him, and he has lots of contacts in China. And he was granted a new award. The last one he got was on behalf of Ardupilot, for recognition of what Ardupilot has been doing all these years for the development and of unmanned aviation controllers. And let's see how it goes with X and JDrones.
Yes. Well, sorry. Thanks, thanks, Andy. Andy on the comments, he picked out that it's Axel Borg, the Polycopter on amazing DIY projects on YouTube. So that's what you need to do. If you haven't looked at that, and I thought the most amazing thing he did was chopping up a load of radio controllers and stacking them all as a mad. If you haven't seen it, you've got to go off and see it. Amazing DIY projects, and that's Axel Borg. Did you see, what was the other thing I was going to mention? Did you see that Bell Helicopters have joined the delivery drone fray with the Bell APT? And the thing that really caught my eye about that, I don't know if you saw it, was their director of innovation, Scott Drennan, said, I'm reading this from the poster put up, Bell can engineer, build, certify, field, and maintain these vehicles in ways that some of these newcomers cannot. And I thought, wow, they say
Where's the spear aiming? Amazon?
No, I think it's aiming at everybody, but it's like when some of the technologies disrupt. I thought, wow, Bell, that chap, he's just put Bell's again neck in the noose. I use the term again, but I thought, what a cocky thing to say, and he's going to discover. But I think Bell helicopters are going to discover some small startup now is going to absolutely destroy their future, and going to enjoy it. And that's the was it IBM? Who is it that said there'll only be 4 computers in the world or something like that? There was that old analogy, isn't there? And I think that's sort of
that's from the time that who needs more than 640K of memory?
Yeah, that's sort of a thing, and I think this is Bell's moment. I couldn't believe the arrogance of Scott Drennan when he said that, and I think he may be forced to eat humble pie in the not too distant future.
Would they have airtime if he hadn't said that?
True. No, they wouldn't. No, it wouldn't have done for me, because I thought that was a pretty meh looking thing. And also, it's very complicated. They've put moving control surfaces on the legs. They've got pivoting motors. I thought, well, did they have a box? I thought, did they have a box of servos that they had to use for whatever reason? Somebody went out and bought, but they have put it on the end register. It's the only one they've built. It has flown, so I suppose, fair play, but it looks like they've made a simple thing very complicated.
Come on, Gary. Let me see if I have one here. I can get this to fly.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's my. I was thinking the other day. Somebody said I need it. Well, I put it in the video. Somebody said, you need to get some engineers onto that idea. And I was thinking, well, how will I what qualifications would I need? And it is if you can make a really good paper aeroplane, then that would be a pretty key qualification for me. Anyone that couldn't make a really good paper aeroplane need not apply, because it's it proves something, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Did they say what the servos or anything were for?
Well, they've
ballast, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. Just take him for a ride. They've always wanted to fly. The motors pivot, and then they've got moving control vanes on the legs as well. So they've got.
I know, Gary. They saw the Bruce video on the vanes.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And it just, I thought, they made it overly complicated, and that comment is what really caught my eye. And if I hadn't have seen that comment, then I may not have put it in SUS News, because.
But I read it differently. I read it that they're poking Amazon with that delivery stuff, because Amazon has been dumping money on that. We haven't seen it beyond the promo videos. We know very little of it, and sincerely, I'm not very confident that the delivery mania will ever catch up.
I think large scale delivery can have a valid use. I think saving the world one CD or DVD at a time, I don't think that's going to work. I can't see that working.
Come on. Now that you've got Tesla trucks, electric Tesla trucks that are green, why do you need a drone? You just send a Tesla truck.
No, absolutely. And
right, or a car.
Yeah, and it comes in a howling gale, in rain, sleet, and snow. You've got to be, and here for my virtual delivery projects, you've got to your opposition is a bloke on a motorbike with a top box, with a delivery box on the back. That's the man you've got to beat, because he's
delivery box. Have you seen those videos from China where they pile up incredible heights?
Yeah, well, that as well. Yeah, they do that. They do that here as well. So that's who you've got to beat. So, and you'll struggle to beat them on a lot of days. Well, I was going to say something else. I can't remember what it was. It can't have been very exciting. Look, it's 6 minutes to the hour. Obviously, Bruce, for those that have asked, he is arguing in a council meeting, even as we do this. So
Oh,
he was
after his last video, I'm sure he has lots of ammunition to dump them.
yes,
Oh my God,
and,
that last video is going to kill those guys in the council, because
yeah.
everything they say, and Bruce, oh, that's just last weekend, and they said, oh, that's a fluke.
He was hoping to join us from it, but I suspect. Well, actually, couldn't. How could he? He's got that candy bar phone. What was he thinking? Maybe take a laptop with him. But yeah, I'm sure he's having a lot of fun, and the video will probably be out later today from Bruce.
Oh.
But before we go, did anyone else see? Did either of you guys see anything else you'd like to talk about before I sign off?
Oh, there are a few things this week, but nothing relevant to here. I believe we already discussed the Squared Lily and the Lego drone. It's not Lego, Snap drone.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about the anything like for companies like Zipline or like the maintenance intervals or anything like that for our small
Yeah.
small drones, or we could talk about that facial recognition thing that's coming out.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's going to go down well in the papers, isn't it? As soon as the mass media get hold of that, that's going to go down really, really
okay. Facial recognition is a routine that is run on an open source code called OpenCV. What those guys did, and it's a out of the box function of that OpenCV. What those guys did was adding drone in the end. So facial recognition, drone, and they get me
right. Doesn't the British camera system already do that? And then the Vegas cameras in Las Vegas, in the casinos, they already do that. So I mean, there's nothing really new other than
you can do that with a Raspberry Pi and with a Raspberry Pi camera and running a piece of code. Running a piece of code, and you can do that. And now I have that system because this is a Raspberry Pi with a hat and can run ArduPilot, so I can do that. So no news. So what they added was the word drone to get media coverage. That's the usual trick.
We should add the word drone to a lot of other stuff. I've not thought of that before. We just bring an item from the house and add the word drone, and see if we can get the press release out for it. Well, it's a very good idea.
Oh, I have something here. Oh, LED lamps for drones.
There you go. Well, that is a bit of a thing. That is that people are flocking to buy lights, aren't they? That is becoming a bit of a thing. So they're adding them and they're making their battery last.
So I just have to add an E14 on the drone and power this. So LED lamps.
What purpose do they have to fly at night? What purpose do they have to fly at night? Why?
Why not? Why not? It's the matter of why do, and I say why not. I don't know if you saw. There's a video on YouTube of a guy that is flying a drone with 1,000 watts LED that makes night become day. Why not? He can. He flies only for a couple of minutes, but why not? And
right.
Well, if you're going to do, let's say you're going to do large scale deliveries. As I'm trying to do in Imaginarium, let's convert a Twin Otter or a Beaver or whatever into an autonomous delivery. Do it at night, and we get rid of 99% of the VFR manned aviation problems.
Yeah, you won't see a thing, but that doesn't matter.
Well, the robot doesn't. The robot doesn't anyway. So but do the bulk of your big deliveries at night, and you get rid of a whole host of problems. And generally, certainly in Africa, which will come round to Zipline, in Africa, the weather's, once the afternoon thunderstorms are finished, the weather's generally a lot better. Night photogrammetry, yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's the thing to do.
That's 0 millimeters per pixel photogrammetry.
Fantastic resolution. Yeah, fantastic.
Oh my God. It's completely black. It's fantastic.
Well, yes, it's like, hang on, I'm gonna scoop it. It's like your aviation chart, isn't it? This side's for navigation, and that's for when you're below the cloud, and then this side's for when you're above the cloud. They think of everything with these things. Yeah, they think of everything.
Right.
Yeah, the night photogrammetry, that'd be good, couldn't it? Because any black picture could be anywhere in the world. So what an easy product to sell. But there's go on, Neil.
I was gonna say one of the funniest things I was told when I was training for flying helicopters and we did our instrument training was that as a helicopter, like we don't need the instrument to fly. Like if we go IMC, like our only purpose was to turn around and be able to fly back out.
Yeah, sure. Hell yeah. IMC in the helicopter is very, very hard indeed. Very hard indeed.
I saw today 2 Lynx helicopters doing some crazy maneuvers from the Navy guys. And he was doing nose down.
Well, we just had over the weekend. We had our display Oryx, which is a Puma, flying back to its base, and managed to run straight into a power wire, and that's an aviation accident that is as old as the hills, isn't it? And you'd think in 2017, moving into 2018, they'd have wire detectors on everything. And
no, the problem is the wire. It was above 500 feet, I'm sure.
Well, the dash camera footage is of the thing eye level with the guys going down the valley, but they're military helicopter. They should and will be doing that. That's their way of operating. But let's circle back a little bit. You mentioned Zipline. So obviously they've caught your eye then, Neil.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're doing a lot of great things over there in Africa, delivering medical supplies to remote places that people, they need to help. I know they started in America, and unfortunately with our laws and regulations right now they're not allowed to, so hopefully eventually that'll come around and they'll be able to do it here to help other people. I mean, that's the whole point of these things, is to help, not to destroy.
Yes, and for all the big money of Amazon and all the others that can, and we haven't had the Christmas Amazon drone delivery campaign yet. It was Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear, as it was at the Grand Tour now last year, and the year before it was just a demo. Remember, every Christmas they've been saying soon Christmas will be like this, it'll be different like this. So they've got huge money, but they still haven't done as many operational drone delivery flights as Zipline has. Zipline is well ahead of them in actually having to solve problems and just get it done.
Right.
So fair play to them. They are years ahead now. I was very skeptical to start with for 2 reasons. One was the launch ramp, and the second bit was the fact it was just one way, of course, because it's a parachute drop and that's it. But having seen that they've saved more than one person's life with multiple blood transfusions, well, not multiple blood transfusions, but multiple blood drops for one patient. I get it now. I understand. I've been very wrong in the past.
Right.
I understand, and it works. Fair play to them. Fair play.
And speaking on Africa, I believe we'll get shortly a report from Don Gain, the main developer of Q Ground Control. It has been involved on Malawi. Where was the coup these days? Zimbabwe. Yeah. He has been there for some time with the conservation organization to monitor endangered animals and poaching with drones. And I believe you'll get us some good news in very short time. And keep on doing what he does fantastically on Q Ground Control.
No, it is nice. It is nice. He needs to put Settle in now. He needs software in the loop. Don, if you're watching.
No, come on, Gary. It's easy. You just open a terminal, just do CMD, run as administrator, and run Settle from the command line.
And then I can
Even
feed
I
it
can
into,
do it. Even I can do it.
but then I can feed it into that ground control station nicely as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No issues.
No issues. Maybe I need to have a look at that then. I have seen that page on the wiki, so I need to have a look. Anyway, look, it's 4 minutes past the hour, so it's time to go. I'm tired. Thank you. Oh, hang on. Necessity, mother of invention, African leapfrog. So many. Yes, it can. Africa can and will. Has done this, but in the cellular world, especially micropayments via cell phones. That's very big here. Yes, there are chances, and we have less well. South Africa doesn't have less regulations. Sadly, we have far more regulations than you have in America. Far more regulations than they have in Europe. We have ridiculous regulations here. And should you be watching it from South Africa, the main lady that was in charge of getting permissions done resigned yesterday. So if you're in South Africa, you're flying commercially, you've had it for a while, for about 2 years, I reckon. So yeah, but yeah, other than that, yes, mother invention, absolutely right. Anyway, I'm rambling, I'm tired. It's time to go. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Thanks, Louis. Thanks very much, Neil.
Thank you for having me.
I'll put a link to Neil's paper below, and then you can perhaps argue with him if you wish to in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all the other things you're supposed to do on YouTube. Lou, I look forward to more talk of ArduPilot, particularly ArduPlane, my favorite bit.
Oh, sorry, Gary. Can I put something, because I was nominated yesterday as a member of the funding committee of ArduPilot.
Oh,
so to the community, we want great ideas so that we can consider to support them. And the 3 members of the funding committee are eager to help out to develop new ideas that can be used, that have to be used on for the good of ArduPilot. So I'm a member of that funding committee, and we have a place to do the proposals on the ArduPilot forum. Every proposal is going to be analyzed, scrutinized, tried to be destroyed, and if it's valid, we'll support it.
Perfect. Okay, and by support you mean you'll
financial support,
okay,
and, if required, and let's see how it goes. If you have a good idea, come on.
And a little bit of coding support as well, I guess, to
Yes.
To make sure that the whatever's needed in code is done. Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, so that's on ardupilot.org, and the forum.
ardupilot.org, the forums. You have the proposals section. Go ahead, propose something that is viable, and it's for the good of the community as a whole. And the members of the funding committee are there to help out and criticize. Let's go. Let's go, guys. We have money to spend. We've been lucky to have good partners that help us, and let's go.
Hey, pay for my school then.
Yeah, just send a proposal and I'll shoot it down.
Yes. Excellent. All right, let's try that again. I'm going to say goodbye for now to everybody. Hopefully you'll join us again next week, 2100 GMT. Thanks very much, dear viewers, for watching, and thank you very much for your comments. I really appreciate your involvement. If you have anything you'd like us to talk about, or if you'd like us to fish out any guests, then please do, and I'll do my best to try and get them here. Hopefully see you next week. Thanks very much, everybody. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Larry. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers now. Bye.